For 300 years, humanity had played a very careful game. When the Galactic Council first made contact with Earth in 2157, humans were given a simple choice. Join the Council as a minor species, accept protection from stronger empires, and never develop weapons beyond what the Council allowed. The alternative was extinction. Humanity chose survival, or so the galaxy believed. The Council was made of 12 ancient races. The Velthari Empire controlled the largest fleet. The Kryn Dominion held the most planets. The Zorth Collective had the deadliest soldiers. Together, these powers had ruled the galaxy for over 50,000 years. They had crushed rebellions, destroyed civilizations, and erased entire species from existence. To them, humans were nothing special, just another primitive race that had barely learned to leave their own solar system. Ambassador Alara Chun stood before the Galactic Council that day. She was a small woman with gray hair and calm eyes. Behind her, a hologram showed Earth, peaceful and blue. The council chamber was massive, filled with representatives from 1,000 worlds. Velthari commanders sat in their golden armor. Kryn lords watched with their 6 eyes. Zorth warriors stood silent like statues of death. High Chancellor Varth of the Velthari Empire spoke first. His voice echoed through the chamber like thunder. He announced that humanity had violated the weapons treaty. Human ships had been detected carrying unauthorized technology. The punishment was clear. Earth would be occupied. Human leaders would be executed. The species would be enslaved for 10,000 years. Alara listened without expression. When Varth finished, she simply smiled. That smile confused everyone in the chamber. It was not the smile of a defeated ambassador. It was the smile of someone who had been waiting for this moment for a very long time. She spoke softly. She said that for 300 years, humanity had followed every rule. They had bowed their heads. They had accepted insults. They had watched as council races treated humans like animals. But all that time, humanity had been preparing. Not preparing to fight. Preparing to win. Vorith laughed. He said humans had 12 ships. The Velthari Empire had 12 million. What could humans possibly do against such power? Alara nodded slowly. She admitted that officially, humanity had 12 ships. Then she asked a simple question. What if that number was wrong? The chamber grew quiet. Something in her voice made even the Zorth warriors pay attention. Alara explained that when humanity first reached space, they discovered something terrible. The galaxy was not a place of peace. It was a place where the strong ate the weak. Humans studied history. They saw what happened to species that revealed their strength too early. Those species were destroyed before they could become threats. So humanity made a decision. They would hide. For 3 centuries, the real human military had been built in secret. Not in the Sol system where council observers could watch. Not in any known location. Deep in the void between galaxies, in places no scanner could reach, humanity had constructed its true fleet. High Chancellor Varth demanded to know what she meant. His golden face showed the first sign of uncertainty. Alara raised her hand. The hologram behind her changed. Instead of peaceful Earth, it showed something else. Ships. Not 12 ships. Not 12,000 ships. The image showed vessels beyond counting, stretching across the darkness like an ocean of steel and fire. The chamber exploded with noise. Council members shouted in disbelief. Military commanders activated their communicators, demanding confirmation from their own fleets. Admiral James Wolfe appeared beside Alara as a hologram. He was an old man with scars on his face and cold eyes. He reported that the first through 100th human battle fleets had entered council space. Each fleet contained 50,000 warships, 5 million vessels in total, all equipped with technology the council had never seen. Varth screamed that this was impossible. Humans did not have the resources. They did not have the population. They did not have the time. Ilara corrected him. She explained that the 12 ships the Council knew about were genuine human vessels. But they were not military ships. They were acting performances, designed to make humans look weak. Every piece of advanced technology had been hidden. Every brilliant scientist had worked in secret facilities. Every strong soldier had trained in hidden bases. The humans the Council had met were farmers, teachers, and artists. They were real humans, but they were not all of humanity. The true human population was not 8 billion. It was 800 billion, spread across secret colonies in 17 different galaxies. For 300 years, humanity had multiplied in the darkness, building, learning, and preparing for the day when they would no longer need to hide. Admiral Wolf continued his report. Human weapons were not based on Council technology. They were completely different. Quantum disruption cannons that could tear apart molecular bonds. Void shields that absorbed energy and returned it twice as strong. Faster-than-light engines that made Council ships look like rowing boats. And something called Project Prometheus, which the Admiral said he hoped they would never need to use. The Krim representative demanded to know what Project Prometheus was. Ilara's smile faded. She said it was humanity's final option, a weapon that could collapse stars. Not one star, any star within 1,000 light years. The Council's home systems were all within that range. Silence fell over the chamber. Complete, total silence. A Zorith commander stepped forward. His species was known for having no fear. They had fought wars against impossible odds. They had never retreated from any battle. But even he spoke carefully now. He asked why humanity had revealed this. They could have stayed hidden forever. Ilara turned to face him directly. She explained that hiding was never the goal. Survival was the goal. And survival meant making sure no one would ever threaten humanity again. The Council had announced plans to enslave Earth. That announcement had activated protocols that had been dormant for 3 centuries. Humanity was done hiding. But, she continued, humanity was not interested in conquest. Humans had not built this military to rule the galaxy. They had built it to ensure peace, real peace. Not the peace of the strong controlling the weak. The peace of equals who respected each other. High Chancellor Voreth found his voice again. He asked what humanity wanted. Ilara listed the terms. First, all species would be equal members of the Council. No more slavery. No more occupied worlds. No more punishments for developing technology. Second, the Council would become a true democracy where every species had a voice. Third, all current slaves would be freed immediately. Fourth, any species that attacked another would face the combined response of all Council members, including humanity. Voreth said these terms would destroy the current order. Empires would collapse. The galaxy would fall into chaos. Ilara agreed that the current order would end. But she said chaos was not certain. Humanity had spent 3 centuries planning for this moment. They had economists, diplomats, and administrators ready to help with the transition. The change could be peaceful if the Council chose peace. And if they chose war? Admiral Wolf answered that question. He reported that human fleets had already surrounded every major Council military installation. Targeting solutions were locked on every capital world. The war would last approximately 4 hours. Humanity would lose perhaps 3% of their forces. The Council would lose everything. The Volthari Emperor himself appeared as a hologram. He was ancient, thousands of years old, and he had ruled his empire with absolute power. He looked at Ilara with something that might have been respect or might have been hatred. He asked one final question. He wanted to know how humanity had kept this secret for so long. How had no spy discovered it? How had no scanner detected it? How had no traitor revealed it? Ilara gave a simple answer. She said that every human knew the secret, all 800 billion of them, and not one had ever told, because humans understood something the Council never had. When survival was at stake, when the future of their children was threatened, humans could do anything. They could hide for centuries. They could build in silence. They could wait with patience that drove other species insane. And when the time came, they could strike with force that shattered worlds. The Emperor was silent for a long moment. Then he did something that had not happened in 10,000 years. He bowed his head to a younger species. The vote was held that same day. The Council accepted humanity's terms unanimously. There was no other choice. The old order ended not with a great war, but with a simple vote. In the weeks that followed, human ships appeared throughout the galaxy, not as conquerors, but as peacekeepers. They freed slave populations that had suffered for millennia. They dismantled weapons that had been used to terrorize innocent worlds. They opened trade routes that had been controlled by a few powerful families. Ambassador Alara Chen became the first human High Chancellor of the reformed Galactic Council. On her first day, she gave a speech that was broadcast to every inhabited world. She said that humanity had revealed its military strength not to inspire fear, but to end it. For too long, the galaxy had operated on the principle that might made right. That era was over. She spoke of Earth's own history. She described centuries of war and suffering. She talked about the moment when humans finally learned that true strength was not the power to destroy, but the power to build. Humanity had made terrible mistakes. They had almost destroyed themselves many times. But they had learned. And now they would share those lessons with the galaxy. The changes came slowly at first, then faster. Species that had been enemies for thousands of years began to talk. Worlds that had been isolated joined the new council. Technologies that had been hoarded were shared freely. The economy of the galaxy transformed as barriers fell and cooperation replaced competition. There were problems, of course. Some refused to accept the new order. Small wars flared in distant systems. Criminal organizations tried to fill the power vacuum. But human forces responded to every threat with overwhelming precision. The message was clear. The galaxy had new protectors, and those protectors would not tolerate violence. 20 years after the revelation, historians began calling that day the Great Awakening. They debated endlessly about how humanity had accomplished such a massive deception. They studied every detail, looking for the moment when the Council could have discovered the truth. They found nothing. The secret had been perfect. Admiral James Wolfe retired to a small planet far from the galactic center. In his final interview, he was asked what he was most proud of. He thought for a long time before answering. He said he was proud that humanity had never fired a shot. 5 million warships, weapons that could destroy stars, and not one had been used in anger. The greatest military in the history of the galaxy had won its war without a single battle. That, he said, was humanity's real strength. Not the ships or the weapons or the soldiers. The real strength was knowing when not to fight. The real strength was patience. The real strength was the ability to show mercy to those who had planned to show none. The galaxy still trembled sometimes when they thought about what humanity could do. But they trembled less each year, because they were learning what humans had known all along. Strength without wisdom was just destruction. But strength with wisdom was the foundation of peace. And humanity, after 3 centuries of hiding and 3 centuries of building, was finally ready to share that wisdom with the stars.